Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers, sisters, leaders, and community members. Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah that we meet today for Adelaide First Community Conference at the Islamic Society of SA. We welcome you all and hope that together we will be able to gain a greater insight of what is expected from us and how together we can move forward. To begin with, I would like to briefly highlight the Society's history and how it originated. Islamic Society was established in 1955 and it's the oldest Islamic society in Australia. The main office of this society was based at the Adelaide Mosque, which is the oldest mosque in Australia after Mary Mosque. In 1992, for unforeseen reason, the society divided into two organizations, Islamic Society of South Australia and Adelaide Mosque Islamic Society. From that time on up until 2010, the society faced many internal challenges that resulted in a large community election. The outcome of this election led to deriving a new committee from diverse backgrounds with fresh and innovative approaches on how to run the Islamic society. Our main vision following the establishment of this new team was focused on integration of the Muslim in the wider community and on how to bridge these gaps. This was extremely important as our community at that time was very isolated and we lacked involvement with the non-Muslim community. At the same time, the Muslim community members themselves were detached and had minimal contact in dealing with each other. We identified that in order to step out of this isolation and to begin conversing and interacting with the wider community, we required a solid foundation and team of people that the community could rely on. Therefore, our first step was to build and renovate our mosque to provide a respectable and pleasing place of worship. Alhamdulillah, currently Islamic Society now maintains and manages 5 mosques around South Australia. Following this, we focus on training and empowering a group of our youth volunteers to lead the community into the future. They organized and coordinated numerous activities such as Mosque Open Days, Al-Salam Festival, internal and external public religious and non-religious lectures, social activities for youth, women, elders, and children, along with educational activities and the program for members at all ages. At the same time, our respected imams diligently and tirelessly supported us in engaging more with the community and delivered extra social services. Alhamdulillah, with this combined effort, over the years the society flourished and we were able to turn around our damaged image to become a respected multicultural community within the state government, local councils, and communities at large. Therefore, to keep up with the high demand of services, activities, and the program, in 2016 we introduced to the society the newly created paid position role of a community liaison officer, followed by a general manager after a long journey of volunteering. Subsequently, we also recognized that a community center was imperative to cater for all of this activity and to provide a safe and non-judgmental environment for community members, especially for our youth and ladies within the vicinity of the mosque. As a result, we built this center and we are currently in the final stages of completing the Wandama Community Center, inshallah. Over the past 2 years, many members of our community approached our offices and have requested for extra services and activities that we didn't offer in our society, such as aged care services, mental health, domestic violence, drug and alcohol services, and so on. The list is very long. Therefore, we have taken this on board and agree that there is a need to recreate and redefine our future goals. Through this period, we have upheld respectable and strong connection with the politician to receive assistance from the government in order to fulfill these services. We have also dealt with the media, police, government, and non-government organizations. As you can see that we have exhausted many avenues before reaching this point. Recently, we have been asked by many members, where are we going? Are we on the right path? Is it in our capacity to do everything related to the welfare of the Muslim community in South Australia? Is it still okay to say yes for everything? When can we say no, that we cannot do this service or activities? All these valid questions made us as committee, imams and officers to ask ourselves the same question. Where can we see ourselves in 5, even 10 years from now? For these reasons, and as we are only liable to manage what the community needs from us, and this is why we are standing here today. That's why we are inviting you for this important conference. Dear brothers and sisters, this conference is to hear your ideas, opinions, and concerns, at the same time to open our eyes on certain issues that we are not aware of. This conference is to determine if we need to expand our current services further and to accommodate more areas in order to assist our community in all aspects of their life. This conference is also to inform you about our challenges as a management team and to listen to your challenges and to strategize a plan on how we can collaborate. I would like to thank every single person that has attended today, and I would like to thank our imams, Riyadh, Imam Abdul Salam, Muhammad Said is coming as well, the committee members, Sister Noor and Brother Zuhair, he hasn't slept all the night to organize this one, Dr. Ahmad Mustafa, Dr. Ahmad Abu Hilwi, Sister Hafifa is coming as well along. Also a special thanks to the Center for Islamic Thought and Education team, led by Professor Muhammad Abdullah, Dr. Mahmoud Mati, Dr. Nadim Ma'moon, in accepting to be the facilitator for this important conference in order to establish the new mission and vision of the Islamic Society of SA. Bismillah, we will open the conference 2020, and thank you very much for your input and assistance. Okay.
Would you like your speech back? MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. First and foremost, thank you very much, Brother Ahmed Zuraiqa, for this wonderful introduction. It's fascinating to hear about the history of the Islamic Society of South Australia being the oldest in the country, and the Adab Masjid being the oldest, of course, after the Mari Mosque. So Jazakumullah khair for this introduction. I think you set the tone quite nicely for us, because you provided us with information about the history of the society, but also about some of the activities, and more importantly, you've opened the door for everybody to express their views freely today. Today is not about just listening to presentations, but it's about, more importantly, it's about listening to your views. Brothers and sisters, my name is Muhammad Abdullah, and I have the honor of facilitating and emceeing the conference today, along with a group of colleagues, wonderful colleagues. And for the sake of gaining the maximum benefit from this conference, inshallah ta'ala, allow me to speak a little bit about the format of the conference. And before doing so, allow me also to congratulate the Islamic Society of South Australia for taking this brave initiative. I do believe it is a brave initiative. It's not always that you see societies opening themselves to feedback. And I think one of the greatest ways of moving forward as a community, as a society, and for the Islamic Society of South Australia is to have transparency. Transparency and accountability. These are two fundamental principles that are well grounded in our tradition in Islam. Transparency and accountability, muhasaba, and shafafiyya, transparency. And especially when we are responsible for community affairs, whatever they may be, the accountability, the muhasaba, is far greater than when you are accountable only for yourself. And because the accountability is quite high, equally transparency must be also on a high order. And I think to be seeing or to see an Islamic society that says we will be transparent with you today and we want to be accountable, therefore we have invited the community to come and express their views. Now there's about 60 people who registered, and we hope that they will turn up to other sessions, inshallah ta'ala. Meanwhile, we will work with this wonderful group, inshallah ta'ala, and they say it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And so, inshallah ta'ala, we hope that we will extract some excellent ideas from yourselves. The format of the conference, my brothers and sisters, is as follows. There are 4 themes to this conference based on the activities of the Islamic Society of South Australia. Those include education, and then religion or religious affairs and activities, and social work or issues related to the social domain. And last but not least, the financials of Islamic society will be talked about, and also the very important topic of waqf or endowments will also be discussed, inshallah. We are giving each presenter or set of presenters 30 minutes to a maximum of 45 minutes. Each session will have an MC, and the MC will take it on as a responsibility of making sure that the sessions finish on time. Because we started half an hour later, I beg your pardon, I would like to ask each presenter to minimize their presentation by 5 minutes, if possible. Sometimes very difficult, but we will see how we go. So the MC will, inshallah ta'ala, they'll have a placard that says 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute, or your time is up. And I would like the presenters to respect that, inshallah ta'ala, so that we are able to engage in discussions. Once the presentation is completed, we will not have Q&A immediately. Rather, we are going to engage in a workshop setting. That's why we've divided the tables as such. So I want you to be comfortable where you are sitting. Although we had predetermined the order of seatings so that we can allow for people to get to know each other and also to discuss issues together. If for some reason you feel uncomfortable where you are, then please feel free to move around. However, after each presentation, this is inshallah the format, and I'd like you to pay attention, and we will have wonderful facilitators to help you. We have Dr. Nadeem Memon, who will be with us in the first session of education, and we also an MC and a facilitator. Dr. Mahmoud Nati, if you could stand up so people can see you. Stand up actually, not hands up, stand up, thank you. There's a difference between stand up and hands up, right? Thank you very much. Dr. Nabil Nati also, if you haven't met Dr. Nabil, he is the son of Dr. Mahmoud, and he's recently come back from the UK, and just recently, mashallah, passed his medical test, alhamdulillah. So we can officially call him a doctor, right? Different doctors. We have a doctor and we have a doctor. But if you come from an Indo-Pakistan background, an Arab background, if you're an academic doctor, that's not the real deal. You have to be a medical doctor to be the real deal. You know, so it's a doctor. Doctor in what? Well, I'm a doctor in education. Nah, that doesn't count. What are you a doctor? I'm a doctor in medicine. Yes, that counts, right? So just to make that distinction very clear. Now, once the presentations are finished, I'm going to ask you to engage in discussions in your group. And I'd like you to respond to 3 things, and we'll remind you of those later. I'd like you for the first 10 minutes to respond, to talk about among yourselves and write down on the butcher's paper what is positive about what you heard? We don't always want to start with a deficit mentality. We want a positive mentality, a strength-based. So the first discussion, we want you to respond to what you've heard. What is so positive about what you heard? And then we will engage in asking you to, have you identified any challenges or gaps in what you've heard? So if the discussion was about education and you heard the presentation, what are the gaps? How do you think those gaps can be filled? What else can be done? And in the last 10 minutes, we want you to write down your ideas about recommendations for improvements. Now you have on the table butcher's papers, you have felt pens, you have notepads, and you have sticky notes. What I would like you to do is write your ideas as a collective body on the butcher's papers, and you decide among yourselves who's going to be the scribe, inshallah. Because once you have written those down, you also have blue tack on your tables. So once you have written those down, I'd like you to go and stick them on the wall for all to see. We will do this exercise for half an hour, which will leave us for a good other half an hour where we will have open discussion. We want to see what are the emerging themes from your discussion. We want to see where are the similarities, where are the synergies. And we want you to be as honest and as open as you can. This is an opportunity where we can be honest with each other. And again, I give credit to the Islamic Society for allowing us to do this. And we will do this, inshallah ta'ala, for every session. The idea is, after you have written down your thoughts, we will collect these butcher's papers and take them and burn them. No, I beg your pardon. We will actually, as members of SITE, the SITE team, we will take those ideas and we will try to analyze them and present a small report to ISSA, which will be shared with all of you. And the report would include the very ideas that you presented about what were the strengths of what you've heard, what were the gaps, and what are your recommendations for ISSA. And by the way, those recommendations do not necessarily to be confined to the 4 areas of discussion. We could also propose ideas for ISSA as to how else can they expand or how else can they refine their efforts and streamline them. Are we happy with this format? Not that you have a choice, but I have to ask anyway. Yes? All right. Now, sorry? It's a benevolent dictatorship. That's what they call it. All right. So, inshallah ta'ala, I hope this is the first annual conference and we will learn much from it, Brother Ahmed. I'm sure there will be much more room for improvements, and that is the nature of things. But we are very grateful, honestly, for having this opportunity. For those who do not thank people, do not thank Allah Azza wa Jal. So thank you very much. So, as I said, you have on the table, you have blue tacks, and you have felt pens, and you have butcher's paper, and there are scissors, not on every table, but around. Either you use your't to rip the butcher's paper after every set of notes, or you can borrow a scissors. Toilets are behind me. There are a set of toilets just out behind this section here, and there are a set of toilets over there, and also downstairs also. The kitchen, the most important part of all of this, is the kitchen right behind me with all the goodies. So there will be breaks in between morning tea and lunch, but also, however, feel free to go and grab a cup of tea, some biscuit, coffee, anytime, inshallah. And more important than the biscuits and everything else, we have the manoush, which has just arrived. This is for my knowledge, yeah. Thank you very much, Sheikh. Sheikh says, manoush arrived, by the way, right? So, and different types. You have manoush with cheese, manoush with za'atar, and manoush with minced meat, right? So that's just an incentive, right? Just to, so that, anyhow, feel free. It's usually $5 per manoush, but it'll be free today, inshallah. And we will, yes, before we get called. In case of emergency exit that way, and this way, inshallah ta'ala. Please have your phones on silent. I'm not asking you to switch them off, but put them on silent. And if you really don't need the phone urgently, I would advise you put it in your pocket or in your bag. If you are one of the sisters who have these bags, then maybe put it in your pocket better for easier access. And last but not least, as I said, tea and coffee and manouche are in the best part of this hall, and that is right behind me, so feel free, please, to go. Right, with that, I would like to call Dr. Nadeem Memon to MC the next session. Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. It's always tough going after Professor Muhammad because I have to adjust the microphone. So I realize that I'm not a real doctor, but I do give out medical advice, if anyone might. That was for Nabil. This session, the first session is on education. I think education, we all agree, is a very critical service in our community. A mentor of mine once said, she said, we should look at education in a way that's very, we walk into it in a way that's very open. Because each of us are experts, given that we've all been raised by someone, we've been nurtured by someone, we've been educated and schooled, and we are in the process of continuing our own education as lifelong learners. So as we have this discussion today, please walk into the discussion as we are contributors. We don't have to be a doctor in education or an educator or a teacher formally, but we all have something to contribute. So inshallah, we're looking forward to this opening discussion. As Professor Muhammad said, we're going to start off with a presentation. We'll have Dr. Ahmed Mustafa and Dr. Ahmed Abu Halwa, who are leading the education initiatives here with the Al Salam Academy. So they'll first present, and then we'll break up into a discussion. So, Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First, it's my pleasure to be one of the speakers in Islamic Society Conference, and many thanks for this invitation. So my talk today, before I talk today, I would like to introduce myself. Myself is Ahmed Mustafa. I'm currently a principal of Islam Academy for the late West Croydon. I graduated from school of pharmacy and got my PhD 2011 in Brisbane. Alongside with that, I did an Islamic studies and graduated from Al-Quds Institute with Ijazah in the Quran. And during this journey, I worked in da'wah in Egypt as well as in Brisbane and well as in Adelaide. So before we start, I would like to ask 3 questions and try to answer these 3 questions with you, inshallah. So who we are? The first question, where we are among the other schools, Islamic or the weekend schools, and what will we do, and what we do. We are Salam Academy of Adelaide, which founded on 1996 as Al-Faruq, and then the name changed in 2017 as Salam Academy of Adelaide. Currently we have 2 campuses, and in the future, inshallah, to 2021, we have a new campus. So I will introduce first the first campus in Hamilton area, next here, or near the masjid, in Hamilton Secondary School. And West Croydon area, we have a campus there inside Australian Islamic College. And the new year, inshallah, we will have a campus next to Wandana Masjid inside Pinnacle College, inshallah. Currently, we have 200 students in West Croydon and 70 in Hamilton. So where we are among the other schools, and before we answer the question, I would like to show you the school progress in number since the change in name in 2017. As you can see, we start with 174, then 160, and then 238. And this year, because of the COVID, we dropped to 201. And we have, inshallah, expectation to reach 440 after we open the Wandana campus, inshallah. But where we are with other schools, this graph shows our position, our ranking among the Arabic schools in Adelaide. So we are the second one in the use of numbers. After 3 years, alhamdulillah, we become the second. Inshallah, we hope to be next year we're first, inshallah. So our mission here for the community is to delivering excellent Islamic studies and Arabic studies, and also connecting this program with the Quran and Sunnah, and developing the Muslim identity of our new generation. So in order to do that, we have a vision to provide the chance for the community to learn the Arabic and the Islamic studies, and also to combine tarbiyah and akhlaq with education, which is very important, and also to provide a healthy and Islamic environment for and safe for education. And also we need to improve the education strategy to our new generation to study the Islamic and Arabic study, and in order of that we plan to have a good Muslim with a good character to be a good Muslim and a good Australian citizen as well. So currently we have different programs. We have Hifz program, we have Qari program, we have Arabic program, and also we have Alim program, we have SACE Arabic Stage 1 and Stage 2 program. Briefly about each program, Hifz program is a schedule and structured memorization of Quran with the tajweed rules and using talqeen method, which is one-to-one recitation. And we use different tools to get this, like in-class memorization, using Quranic pen and face-to-face or one-to-one recitation or talqeen. And also we have a Qari program, which is some kind of perfection of recitation using a tajweed rule, and we use a specific method, and we are the innovator of delivering this method here in Adelaide, which is an Iqra method. We used to do a workshop for the schools, Islamic schools or the Arabic schools teachers to show them how they deliver this Iqra method to recite the Quran with the tajweed. And also we have, for the advanced student, we have a tajweed curriculum that covers the basics and the advanced tajweed. For the Arabic program, we deliver the skills of the Arabic, to learn the speaking, the writing, the listening, the reading, and also the grammar integrated with the Arabic as well, and also to let them understand the meaning of the Quran and to exchange information and communicate in Arabic. For the Alim program or the Islamic studies, we develop a program to teach the student or the new generation principles of Islam, principle of Aqidah, principle of fiqh, principles of ibadat and akhlaq and manners. And we use a very good Islamic studies series, which is Islamic studies series from 1 to 12. For the SACE, alhamdulillah, we are approved as a SACE provider from SACE Board of Australia to teach Stage 1 and Stage 2 Arabic. And alhamdulillah, this is the first year for us. And the SACE Arabic is very important for our community because it will give 2% increase in the ITA, especially for the Arab speaker. So the program core of the SACE is we use different texts, and because we are trying to provide an Islamic environment, we teach the student some Islamic text in order to let them familiar with the Islamic terminology, and also use some vocabulary and dictionaries and grammar. Let us go to the most important thing in our talk today, which is the challenges. Actually, it's not easy to run this program and make it soft running. So we face a lot of challenges, and I would like to classify the challenges, and this is important for you to give us an advice about how can we overcome these challenges. The challenges, we have resources and sustainability and the time and events and activities. And if we start with the first challenges for the resources, we have challenges to find a human resource who can effectively deliver the courses that we plan to do, and also in a good way. So this is actually a big task, a big challenge for us to find a qualified teacher who can deliver the tajweed, can deliver the Arabic, can deliver the Islamic. Since we started in 2017, we used to do a development of our teacher performance, but here is the chance for the community, from the imams, from the hafiz, from the professors, from all the academic people here. We need support for these challenges. Like if we can organize some workshop, some courses for our teachers to teach them how they deliver the Islamic studies, how they understand the Islamic studies, how they recite the Quran, this will be a good recommendation to overcome this challenge. Also for the challenge, we have a challenge from the resource for the educational resources, especially when you're teaching an Arabic Quran for the young kids. If you use the traditional way of teaching, it will not motivate them to learn. So we need a lot of resources, multimedia resources, textbook and online learning. And one of the recommendations, and surely your idea as well, when we have a discussion, is to have a collaboration with some of the local and interstate and international institutes who have an experience to deliver these types of learning. And also, very important for any successful project is you have continuation of the product, and continuation of the product depends on the people that you work with. And very important, because we are non-profit organization, our work is volunteer work. So in order to have a continuation of the programs in 5 years, inshallah, we need to think about how can we maintain that, because voluntary work would not able to make the work done as a continuation, so we need to have some kind of employment of some people to look after these programs. And also the third challenges for us is a time, because we have only 4 hours per week to deliver this comprehensive program, which challenge us. And we try to do our best, but still 4 hours per week is not enough to cover all these programs. So my recommendation, and show me your idea, inshallah, in the discussion, if we integrate the weekday with the weekend program, in 5 years we will have our target to reach what we need. For the events and the activities that we run, because we are not only educate, we need also to have a tarbiyah. And tarbiyah, one of the tarbiyah is to let the kids love the learning by activity and by sport and by the events. But unfortunately, we struggle to find the support from the community to help us in running activity like sports, like any other open days, and so from the parents. And inshallah, Dr. Ahmed will focus this, because we have a same opinion and have more idea about how he challenged it by the community and the parents and their commitment in the activity and the events. And also one of the problem in the events and the activity is the communication. Actually, we need to improve our communication to the community. It's not only social media communication, informal, because we have other formal communication, not necessarily informal. We need to focus more on the formal, like to have face-to-face meeting, conference, newsletter, email, poster, voicemail. All this communication need to be added to our strategy as well. Okay, after we face the challenges, we look for the future with aspirations to reach our goals. Actually, our aspiration here in the Islamic Academy of Adelaide to provide our program to multiple spots in Adelaide, because still there is a place in Adelaide need these programs, and we need to find how can we deliver these programs to every place in Adelaide, inshallah. I'm not saying rural area, but at least in Adelaide, inshallah. And also, one of the challenges that we need to work together with Professor Abdullah is to, and I spoke with him previously about that, about having a license to deliver the safe religious or the religious studies. In the village channel, we need something like that for our community, and mashallah, we have a professional center for thought and education in USA, led by Professor Abdullah. I think he can impact us positively in this particular point, inshallah, in the future, inshallah. And also we need to have a more collaboration with other international and local and interstate institute to have some kind of experience in teaching Arabic and Islamic studies and Quranic. So by the way, we start inshallah next year, inshallah, on the 13th of January. And as I said, inshallah, we have 3 campuses, and this is an invitation for all the community to join us in 2020 to have a Muslim identity and to learn the Arabic and the Quranic and the Islamic studies. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك.
Barakallah bik, Dr. Ahmed. So I'm just going to add a few points to what Dr. Ahmed has mentioned. I think he covered most of the things because like we run the same program in the 2 campuses. But just looking back into when I started as being the principal for the school 3 years ago. So at that time, As-Salam Academy, at least in the campus I was in, did not have a defined structure of the curriculum. So you've heard that, at As-Salam we teach Arabic, we teach Quranic recitation, there's a memorization or a hifz program, as well as Islamic studies. So this sounds great, as titles, but actually what material, what books, what resources you're going to use, this is, another challenge that we had, 3 years ago. And I can tell you, over these 3 years, alhamdulillah, now we have a defined structure, we have a strong curriculum for each of these components that we actually delivering at this stage. So that in itself is a challenge. And, Arabic, Islamic studies, Quran recitation, hifz, this is all sounds good. But I think the other challenge is where to start. Do we focus on learning Arabic? Do we focus on learning Quran recitation and tajweed? Do we focus more on into understanding of the Quran? Or do we focus on memorization? And how we gonna deliver all these components in an integrated way? So I think this is one of the challenges, and I would like to, hear ideas when you start discussing this, is where to start. Do I start teaching students tajweed, and then Quran recitation, and then understanding, and then, memorization, and where Arabic, comes, in this chain of the different things that we're teaching. The other thing is that I want to mention, which is also one of the challenges, is we actually need qualified teachers. So alhamdulillah, we have a staff of volunteers who are doing a great job, but we're lacking people who are actually specialized in education. So we need those with education degrees to step forward and come and help us with ideas on how to deliver. So that's really important. The other thing is, like Ahmed mentioned about time, at As-Salam Academy of Adelaide, like we do only Saturday, and that's for a limited period of time of 3.5 or 4 hours. So from a community perspective, I think probably families somehow have over expectation of what we can deliver, okay? But we cannot actually achieve a lot without the help of the parents themselves. So what I've been experiencing or feeling that there's a decent proportion of families, they don't actually have the commitment to come and bring their children on time, for example, or follow up with them at home. And I feel sometimes the Arabic school is not a priority to, if they, it's something you do in your free time, which shouldn't be the case, okay? So I think, this is one of the challenges is, the commitments of families to, coming on time, following up with, with the students at home, and so on. One other thing is, this is also one of the challenges I've been experiencing. We have a shortage of teachers, and you know, if one of them gets sick, then we need to find relief teachers. So we need more volunteers to serve as relief teachers, so we can, you know, ask them for help if we need that. And alhamdulillah, as Dr. Ahmed mentioned, inshallah next year we will have 3 campuses, and now we're actually building a website to, you know, for better communication with the community, for them to know what we're doing, and for more engagement. So inshallah together we can do better. Jazakumullah khair.
Nominate one person. Each table, nominate one person from your table to give us a very brief summary of your key ideas. The most important ideas that you came up with, even if there are 3 single points, 2 or 3 single points. So I'll give you 1 minute to decide who's going to be the spokesperson from each table. All right. Have you decided? Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, just for convenience, I'm going to go according, for this session, we're going to start from 1 to whatever number. So table number 1, could we start with you, please? Your spokesperson, just give us a summary, a very brief summary of no more than 1 minute of your key ideas.
Talking about just the recommendations.
Whatever, any of these ideas, give us your key feedback. Yes.
Maybe don't group the group. We don't repeat the idea. So
That's right, excellent.
new ideas.
So new ideas, thank you, Dr. Nadeem. So every group listen to the ideas, because I don't want you to repeat what has been said. If it's the same and you don't have any new idea, just say the same. We don't want to be repeating. But if you have a new idea that hasn't been mentioned, please do so. So please, table number 1, who's speaking? Do you have a roving mic?
I think our main thing that we got out of all of this was that you can't take the children more than once a week because they're busy. So to have an online backup during the week, follow-up, yeah. So maybe every night they get a 10-minute or a 20-minute online thing that they need to do, and that will keep them going until they reach the following week. Is that 1 minute?
Fantastic, that's less than 1 minute, and I'd like you to keep these ideas in mind, but because I would like Dr. Ahmed and Ahmed to be responding to some of these ideas, inshallah. And of course we have Dr. Nadeem with his experience in education, both board education, Islamic education. He can jump in at any time also. Thank you for that. Table number 2. Yes, please.
There are many ideas where there was a suggestion to have a steering committee to support the Islamic school in managing and the school activities. One thing is talking about to support the work with connecting with the research, like SITE, so understanding what the research says about the Islamic and Arabic and Quranic education, and take that and use it in your education.
MashaAllah.
The other thing is providing professional development through SITE and other things to teachers, because one of the things is to have continuous education and training, not just the first time where they do the ethnic school board learning. They need to continue learning about this. Another thing is sustainability of the staff, moving from volunteering into more paid workers and professionals that need some
Excellent.
education. Last one.
Last, very quickly.
Last one is to assess anything. You need to define the purpose. What is the objective of the school, of the learning the Arabic, learning the Quran? Because many parents send the kids to the school for different reasons.
Sure.
So define the purpose so you can assess at the end.
Excellent. All of these ideas, we will try to help ISSA with coming up with a vision and a mission, inshallah, for moving forward. Table number 3, ideas. Can everybody hear? Yeah, thank you. We have a roving mic? No, it's all right. They can hear. It's all right, please.
So basically one of it is to involve the imam in planning for religious studies, and
Thank you very much. Excellent. Table number 4. Changing mindsets of parents. Thank you. Excellent. And funding, of course. We all need the funding. Thank you. Table number 5.
6.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 5 in according to my numbering. So, but you.
Okay, so I'll just talk about a gap, which is actually a recommendation. So it's clear that there's a lack of appropriately trained teachers, and so therefore, if we can fill that gap, then obviously organizations like AAA can expand and then replicate that model around the country.
Excellent. Nice summary. Last but not least.
Thank you, Jazakallah khair. So most of the point has been said. I mean, I'm going to start with the last one that we discussed on this table, which is the evaluation. I think the evaluation is a very important and could answer all the questions that we have been discussing here. Not just an evaluation of the students, but evaluation of the program curriculum, evaluation of the teachers, and evaluation of your students. And that evaluation need to be transparent and need to be structured and need to be academic evaluation instead of a self-evaluation of how do you see yourself going if we would like to improve. I mean, this one has been said by Brother Adnan about the assessment. So it's evaluation is more a bigger umbrella just to embrace all of the things. From evaluation, you can really define the gaps and you can come up with recommendations. All the recommendation has been said. I'm sure it's going to come up with your evaluation. As well, we spoke about the fundings, about increase the fees or decrease the fees. Last point, which is a question more than a recommendation, is what is the role of Islamic schools in Adelaide in teaching Arabic and Islamic schools, and why do we need to have Islamic schools if they don't really teach our kids Arabic and Islamic studies? Why do we need ethnic schools to support that? Why we waste the community efforts and budgets, and why we don't combine and collaborate the effort? Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Barakallahu. Excellent, excellent. We have, yes, please.
And with evaluation, I think feedback is very important. With any service that we provide from the Islamic Society, I think feedback from people involved, whether they're, I'm sorry, I'm not really good at talking. I can't do microphone. So feedback, whether they're, whichever side they're on, whether they're the parents or the educators, you need to obtain feedback, as in ask questions and get replies to those questions, and see what you can do about approaching those
MashaAllah.
answers as well.
Excellent. Well, that's really good. I'm really grateful for your feedback, and we have captured most of what you've said in these posters which are hung on the walls. We will keep them on there until the next session before we take them down, or we can leave them. We can put posters all around, because I'd like you to go around and read what others have said, and we will then take those, as I said, and capture the ideas. We have 20 minutes to go, and I'd like both of the Doctors Ahmed and Ahmed to respond to some of these ideas, but hand over to Dr. Nadeem also to help facilitate, inshallah ta'ala, to see how can we, in responding to your ideas, we have to be realistic also about the resources that they've talked about, resources, budgeting, etc. How do we overcome these issues? All right, so you've listened to some of the ideas. Would you like to respond?
طيب, Jazakumullah khair. I think, there's very good ideas overall. So starting with table 1, so they mentioned about the 10 minutes every day. I think one of the things that we would need to know about the Arabic school, that all the teaching staff are actually volunteers, and most of them, they actually have full-time jobs. So like for me, like probably every day I leave my job at 6 p.m. I don't have time to give online sessions 10 minutes, but I think it's more about the role of the parents. So the parents themselves, they can specify, I think 10 minutes is too short, probably, 15 or 30 minutes every day, and engage, the students with the material, they take from the school. I mean, they have books and I'm not surprised that, students, they actually, most of the time, they don't actually bring their books to school because, I don't know. So that's for that.
I add for this point as well? Okay, for this point, of course...
Just use the mic, please, Dr. Ahmed, use the mic. Thank you.
Okay. For this point, to have a follow-up during the week, I think this is not a school goals or school responsibility. I think this is a community responsibility because this could be achieved if we have a collaborate together to have a weekdays programs or Islamic and Arabic programs, because this is the only way to cover the gap in time. So if we have a plan in 5 years, 5 years is a long period, maybe 2 years inshallah, to have a weekdays programs after school to cover this gap. I think we as a community need to work to build that, because it is not only a school responsibility or school goals, it is a community to provide the new generation with this such program, comprehensive and advanced program.
Yes, please, it's an open discussion. Go ahead. Just can I ask everybody to try to be brief, please, because of time. Just try to be concise and to the point.
Okay. I think the idea is great, and I know you are looking at the constraints. So to get some moving forward to the future, you need to think outside the box and leave your thinking of the constraints. So that's the normal thing, is that we always think of the constraints in budget and time and resources. So if we think in 5 years' time, we can build an online program that has self-directed learning. You need to put the structure as a school, and the parents can support their kids online to learn. You don't need to be there. So if we build that structure and introduce that self-directed learning, which other schools are doing at the moment, it is your responsibility as a learner to learn, and your family to support you in your learn. The teacher is a coach, is someone who guides you. You need to try to do it online.
Point taken. Now, my response to that, of course, will be that, yes, if you were to put a plan 5 years from now, we want to go online, that would require the resources that you said. So as a collective, we need to be thinking, well, if we as a community do want to go online, then what can we do as a community to make that happen, to help that? And that's, as you know, resources is one of the biggest challenges. Sister, you wanted to say something? Yeah.
I just want to add a little bit, because you say it's like a responsibility of the family itself to help the children and guide them. But inshallah, all of us who are here can guide, but not all parents can guide their children in terms of teaching Quran, Islamic study and Arabic. So that's a very important part that we have to consider. So just like what that brother said, I think that's what our suggestion is. It's just more like you put that platform in, but not the parents to teach at home.
No, I'm not saying teaching, to support.
I know what you said.
I agree.
But I do have family members or friends that know nothing, which they can't even support in any way.
Right.
So
I agree.
It's really important to just put the structure in. The parents is just log in the computer and that's it. It's on. That's all.
Excellent ideas. No, yes. Sister Dr. Ahmed, add something.
But I think for online learning, especially for علوم الشرعية or Islamic studies or Islamic courses, the best thing is to have a sheikh or whatever hafiz teach face to face, and the Sheikh Abdul Salam and Sheikh Riyad can emphasize that having a sheikh is not like the online.
Sahih. I think just on that point, and so the idea is it possible, therefore, for the academy to go online, let's say 3-5 years from now? This is not the venue and the forum to discuss how to make it happen or whether it's feasible or not feasible. It is a brilliant idea. The idea is there, and we need to then think, how do we materialize it if there is merit in it? And inshallah ta'ala that will emerge. Can I give others the opportunity? Yes?
Clarification. The idea wasn't to have everything online,
Right.
just to teach online.
Sure.
The idea is to support you with some of the stuff that you can't do at school on Saturday, to support the learning.
Point taken, brother Adnan.
Yep, that's a good idea.
Point taken. Sheikh Abdul Salam.
Yeah, I think it's doable because the recent lockdowns and all the schools, all the education institutions have actually done that. Like, it was, even for the teachers, it was difficult at the beginning, but alhamdulillah.
So it is, exactly. So it is doable. We have seen it happen. The big question is for the Islamic society is how do we make it happen? And this is where, yes, please.
I think something that we can do at the moment is support them through maybe having a diary sent home and maybe helping making the parents aware of exactly what they are doing at school more. Because I know my kids come home and they tell me what they've done, but I don't have anything, in front of me to show me what they've been doing or what they can prepare for the next week.
Dr. Nadeem, sorry, just I'll get Dr. Nadeem to say something and then Sheikh Ahmed.
I have two comments. One is, I think we need to take a step back as a collective and rethink the model itself. One point on that is that weekend schools are happening all over the world, and there's thousands of weekend schools. United States, Canada, Australia, there's thousands, and everyone is struggling in the same way, which means that we have a lot of support because all of these schools are coming up with models that are working. And that leads me to my second point, which is, I think someone had mentioned earlier that all parents have very different expectations out of these weekend schools. We cannot support all different expectations. So when we're thinking about measurement, for example, what are we measuring? Because I've always said that if my child memorizes Juz Amma, but is not a good person, doesn't have a moral compass, I don't think the weekend school worked. So, we can debate this for a long time, but we need to go back and say, if we're teaching fiqh and aqidah and memorization and Quranic understanding, and if all of that is packed in, but the child doesn't leave inspired, and I'm literally pulling my child to say it's time to go to the weekend school, I'm not sure that we got to where we want to go to. So I don't think it's about more content. It's about thinking about what's the model, what are we trying to do, and be comfortable as a community to say, our weekend school is designed to achieve this one thing, and that's it. And some parents will say, you know what, you're not focusing on memorization, this is not the right place for me. Maybe it's not. But we have to come up with what that focus is, and that's going to help us with what we put online, if we have an online. That's going to help us with how we measure. It's going to help us in a lot of different ways.
Excellent, very nice summary.
Yes, back to the point of sister, we already have in our system a tracking system to record in a sheet called tracking record sheet for memorization for Arabic, and the parent should sign this sheet. So already implement that to give a feedback for the parent. And back to Dr. Nadeem, his point, I think in Islamic concept, we have a concept saying التخلية قبل التحلية. You need to purify yourself and then have the benefits of the learning. So also التزكية قبل التعليم. Sayyidina Muhammad sallam make purify first and then teach them. So our goals, our mission is to have tarbiyah with education as well. Just to emphasize what you said.
Doctor?
So Jazakallah khair. So that's, if you want me to move to some of the other comments.
Yes, please.
So we can save some time. I think very valuable discussion. So Abu Yaman, he mentioned about having a steering committee for the Arabic school. I think that this is very important. We need people to think with us, not only help us. So having that is really valuable.
The question, of course, on that, Doctor, is what is the sort of the job description, so to speak, of the steering committee? You don't want just any steering committee. You want a steering committee that. So what do you hope to have in that steering committee?
I would hope to have people who have some experience in education, so they can provide guidance. People have novel ideas to implement, and so on. And like I said, I mean, we're teaching lots of things, but do we actually teach them properly in the right order?
Yeah.
So we need, guidance on that.
Streamlining is very important. Yes, you're right.
Professional development, sustainability of teacher.
So can I hold you for a second there? Sister Catherine, did you want to say something there?
Yeah, it was actually an answer to what
Please.
Dr. Nadeem was saying before, and to just give some feedback as a parent who has tried out all of the weekend schools over the years, but not recently, so it's not a comment on anything recent because I haven't been involved recently, is that kids are at school all week. When they come on the weekend, it needs to be engaging and a bit of and fun for them. And over and over again, it was the whole dragging the kids to school thing that triggered my memory. The key things that my kids, particularly my girls, said was, the teacher spends the whole time getting the boys to behave. I don't learn anything, why am I going? I've spent a week at school. And secondly, it's not, this is where the education of teachers comes in, coming up with a way of teaching this that's engaging and fun, that they're enjoying being there, because otherwise they're coming home thinking Quran is a drag, it's a chore, and that's not bringing them skipping to the weekend school. So I just wanted to share that feedback.
Excellent, thank you very much for that. Tafadhal, Doctor.
I want to comment about table number 6, about what is necessary to have a weekend school since we have an Islamic school.
Yeah,
very important point.
Very important. I was going to raise that actually, and given that Sister Silma is here also, I wonder if she also would like to take part in that discussion.
I think there is a gap now between the Islamic schools and the weekend schools, and I think in order to have a good achievement of our kids is to have a collaboration and communication, more than that, to set a standard curriculum, standard programs for all together, so the student will learn in the mainstream school and then complete with the Saturday school, comprehensive and more focused. So if we have this strategy to have a collaboration between the Islamic schools and the weekend schools, we will achieve our goals easily. But if we say, oh, they have Islamic studies and Quranic in the mainstream school, and they have, so what's the benefit to go there? Or maybe say, I will send my kids to public and then send them to weekend only. So we need to all together have a collaboration to cover this point.
Thank you. So did you get that question? So the question was, you went here, Sister Salma, was, if we have Islamic schools and they teach Arabic and Islamic studies, why do we need to have Saturday schools on the side? Should not Islamic schools be fulfilling that task?
Assalamu alaikum. I do think that Islamic Saturday schools fulfill an important task because due to the competitiveness of our schools and also the curriculum requirements, the amount of time that we have to really invest in Islamic studies and Quran is necessarily limited. Although we can train up qualified teachers there, which makes it, I think, a little bit more, sometimes a bit easier in terms of staffing than it is for the Saturday schools. The Saturday schools have an opportunity to really go in depth, particularly with Hifz, with Arabic, I think, is covered mostly in the Muslim schools, but for those, we get a huge number of students who don't go to Islamic schools. They can't afford it, it's not in the right area. For whatever reason they choose to go to another school, the Saturday schools are still really important. I think that's important. I think the biggest issue is how we view the profession of teaching religion. That's the biggest issue to me, whether it's in mainstream Islamic schools or in Saturday schools. Because a long time ago, it was the profession that was aspired to because you had a legal, administrative, religious standing in the community. Since the secularization of most of our Muslim world, and also living in secular societies or nominally Christian societies, this view of religion as being a profession you can aspire to has changed. And I think that's something that we need to set our goals on for the long term over the next 10 years to make it seen as something which is aspirational, that our kids will go to school, they'll want to go to Saturday school because they see there's value in being a Hafiz of Quran, of being a leader in the Muslim community, and I think that's where we need to start focusing on the contribution we can make to the Australian society, moving into bigger areas and having our qualified students qualified also in religion. Because I think if we're going to make a change, we have to have a change in attitude towards how we view our religious leaders, our religious teachers, and the function of religion in our own society.
Thank you. Point taken. Thank you very much. I think there are a lot of other questions you could respond to, but we don't have time. And I know there will be other points of comments, questions from the audience, but time is finished, unfortunately. However, you have captured most of your ideas on these posters. The session is recorded, and inshallah ta'ala we will harness those ideas, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll try to come up with a way forward. I'd like to ask Dr. Nadeem to come and just maybe give a brief summary and close this session. Thank you.
I think in closing, we've come up with a lot of important strategies forward. I think that we've got the lists. The critical piece now will be to come up with priorities. I mean, I think we all realize that we can't do all of them, but as a committee, it will be to, what are the key priorities, what can be done, and who from amongst us can help support from amongst ourselves and our community that we all are with. So, Jazakallah khair, I think this was excellent, and I think I should mention, and I know we all know this, but I should just make it explicit that as much as we've all kind of given constructive feedback and constructive criticism, we are also indebted for the amount of work and effort that you both have done in leading our community and educating our children. So without a doubt, we've given feedback out of humility because we've been asked, but really, our feedback can't compare to the effort that you've put in to educating our children. So Jazakallah khair.
Well, that was a fantastic session, mashallah. We have a break now till 11:15. I'd like you to come back 11:15 sharp, please, so that we can say we are back on schedule, alhamdulillah. So 15 minutes break to have your manoush and to have your biscuit and to have your tea. Manoush first? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Anyhow, 15 minutes break, please. And can I ask you please to be back 15 past on the dot so we can resume. Jazakumullah khair.
شغله النظامية الناس اللي عندها لسه أفكار حابة تشارك